Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second day of the playing stage here for the European Masters. My name is Colleen, and with me on the desk today is Won't Dino and the ever so lovely Trouble Inc. Gentlemen, and of course the lady, welcome. You're opening with me for this second day of the European Masters, the playing stage that is. How did you find the first day? I'm going to start with you, Trouble. I mean, you are the woman in this, well, whole bunch, so up to you.
So I get her. Well, that's fine with me. I don't know. There were a lot of things that we were expecting, but I'm going to focus on. We'll talk about some stuff a little bit later, so if you want to stay here, stay. I want to talk about like maybe the underdogs coming out, a lot of groups getting shuffled up where we weren't expecting it. Big pointer to Mud Lions right there. And yeah, I can't wait what's going to happen today. I mean, sure, we do have a favorite, which is like Gamer Legion right there. And they have gotten already the 3-0. Maybe we're expecting the 6-0 to come in as well. But other than that, in all the other groups, I think it's complete and utter chaos.
Of course, it's ridiculous. We're going to have an overview of the groups in just a bit. Dino, for you, you are one of our, let's say the younger talents in the region of the Benelux. And you are already doing the European Masters. How strange is that?
It feels pretty surreal, definitely because once you get into the matches, you don't really know what to expect. You do your prep, you know what champions they're going to play, and you can watch the VODs, but you're not really sure how the regions match up. And I gotta say, it has been a bloodbath. There's been some brawly games happening, and it's just been a joy to watch and even cost over.
Well, for you, I'm going to ask you, how are the Benelux players actually doing? Because you are the analyst for the Dutch and the Belgian League as well. How are they doing?
I think they're doing pretty well. The Fuse kids had a loss against Mad Lions, but they didn't look that bad in it. Then Sector 1, of course, Phoenix had that one game, that last game, that didn't go too well. The Wukong 2 and 10, that wasn't the best pick for him.
Power spike reached.
Yeah, that's a power spike. I think that only counts for Yasuo's, but I'm going to give you a quick overview on how the tournament works. So if you haven't heard about the playing stage before, that is correct, because the playing stage is a new addition to the European Masters. I don't know if production is ready. They are ready because we are currently also fixing some other things in the background. So if you are experiencing some difficulties, that might be due to that. Well, the group stage works as follows. We have 16 teams from all over Europe competing in 4 groups. From those 4 groups, 2 teams will advance to the knockout stage. And those 2 teams will fight on in the first and the second seed. And they will fight it out in the best of 3. It is a elimination bracket. Also, it is a double round robin that we're playing in the group stages. So the teams that will be playing today, the match you will be seeing today, they've also been played yesterday. So we do have quite the idea what might happen. So these teams up in the knockout stage that will win the best of 3, they will move on to the main event that will be starting soon as well. I think that is next week on Monday. That are the first games. The 22nd, I just heard. My apologies for that. And actually, same thing there. It's a double round robin, best of 1. The 2 top teams will advance, but they will be moving into a single elimination bracket, best of 3, to finally end up into that semi-final, which is a best of 5. And they will be competing not only for the European Masters title, which is, I think, really cool because it is a big trophy in there as well. I do wonder how they're going to ship that one now. But the main event prize pool is a total of 150,000. That is double from last year. And the grand prize is 40,000 euros. And I must say, you can do a lot of nice things with 40,000 euros. And looking at your makeup stack, I kind of have an idea what you would do with that money.
I was offering at the start to give you some because you were having some trouble, but I'm like, fine, if you want to give me there, fine.
Dinah, I want to ask you though, how important is the European Masters for these players?
I mean, it's everything on the line for them. It's good to be the best in your own region, in your ERL, but we've seen time and time again, once the franchising of the LEC happened, that the European Masters is looked at to pick up new talent and actually develop talent for upcoming rosters you want to put in the LEC. So all these players aren't only playing for the pride of their own region, but they're also playing for spotlight, and they're playing to try to get their name known out there. So it's just an insane event and an insane opportunity for these players.
Yeah, because don't forget, the players you are seeing today, they might be tomorrow's LEC stars. For example, like players like Dan, and it's already told yesterday, he won the tournament with Misfits Premier a year ago, and now he's playing in the LEC. And I think we see a lot of these players, Karzi for the Mad Lions, actually, they're doing very well in the LEC. And I think, am I missing someone important here, Wong?
Just a picture that Mad Lions itself, the team, also is doing pretty well, winning a best of 5 against G2. And I think that just shows you that the EU Masters talent pool is that big. A lot of players can get into the LEC and match those known players like G2.
Yeah, we'll have to see for that. Before we dive into the groups and what happened yesterday, let's have a look at what you can expect today on this stream. We have 2 streams running. This one will be, well, we'll call it stream 1, but it isn't definitely the best stream because the games are being spread out amongst 2. On this stream today, we'll be opening up with Sector 1 versus We Love Gaming. The Fuse Kids Met Lions Madrid will be taking on the I would say, what do you say? they will play the second game. Let's put it like that. Kenty and Mad Lions. That's an interesting match we'll be talking about in a bit. For the win, Esports, who are dying to look for that win as they won 0-3 in the groups, versus the Fuse Kids will be the 4th game of the day. And then the Fuse Kids versus Kenty will be the last regular game because we have decider games. And keep in mind, today is where we get to decide, where we get to see who moves on to the knockouts. Because, yeah, to be fair, it's going to be a long day probably because there is a lot of stuff happening, but we're diving into that a bit later. On stream 2, which is twitch.tv/Gamelux, you'll be seeing the following game. It's going to be Aces RG Elite taking on Isuba. Intrepid Fox Gaming, who hasn't seen any broadcast like yesterday, will be playing their game versus Cyber Gaming on that stream. Sector 1 will be taking on Kick Neosurf. Their second game versus them on that other channel, on Wheel of Gaming versus Pig Sports. Trouble, how was that actually yesterday? Was that a feast?
It was actually Will of Gaming asserting the dominance on the Rift. I said that it was going to be a very close match, a really nice derby to watch, because I do find these two teams being very creative with the ways they want to play the game. And it felt like Pig Sports just came in a little bit too short. Will of Gaming had a very clear plan. They executed to a T, and they just ended a really swift game.
Yeah, so maybe you want to see there what's going to happen there, because Big Sports is the first seed from the Balkans, the Baltics, I must say. Yeah, the Baltics.
Yep.
And then Cyber Gaming and Electronic Generation will be the last game for Group B. And then there is another decider, because we might see some tiebreakers today, because it's going to be an interesting one. And I'm especially looking at Groups A and Groups D. I think those are the more interesting ones that I know.
Definitely Group D. Group A, it's interesting if you're looking at that second seed, because we have one clear favorite, and that's maybe also why we're not featuring that many games of that group. You have Gamer Legion that's really topping that group, that's showing up the opposition. But then the second seed is kind of wide open. You have a battle for second going on there, so that's going to be very interesting to follow. And for Group D, you have 3 teams on top. You have Kick, Sector 1, and WLG that are all 3-2-1. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, let's have a look at the standings for Group A. As Don already covered a bit, it's open there for the second spot. We've seen Vipers play yesterday, and they were pretty close to their win, Swung.
Yeah, they didn't play too great of a game, but they have shown that they can actually match these teams, and they are still in the running for that second spot, for a berth into the next stage of the EU Masters. But they'll have to show up today, because today is the last day to get that spot.
Yeah, Isuba and Aces RG Elite are making up for spot 2 and spot 3. Aces RG, they are a pretty known team, Trouble. They have been to the quarterfinals in summer 2018. But this team has been playing for, 5 days now together, and it kind of shows.
It does show, and I think they do have a high chance of going through. They're a big established organization, very well known in the Balkans. They have managed to get top 4 in 2018 summer in the EU Masters, and their ADC back then was Nemki. Now Nemki playing for Kenty, which I have been hyping a lot, and that is for a reason, as we will see later on when the standings come up.
It's totally fair enough to hype up Kenty, but before we do that, we're going to have a look at Group B, because looking over there, we see, nobody expected this group to be having a 3-0, since everyone would be very close amongst each other. I'm going to direct this question to you, Wung, because you've played with Raccoon's top laner, for example.
Yes, Pascal, I've played with him as well. I saw actually their game against Electronic Generation was a completely Clown Fiesta game as well. It was 40+ minutes back and forth, losing an Elder Drake, losing a Baron, inhibitors open, Nexus open. It was a real fight. And I didn't expect Raccoon to go trio, but it wasn't like a dominant trio.
Yeah, on the second spot, you see their Intrepid Fox Gaming. They are from the Greek Legends League. Do you know anything about this team, Trouble, and what kind of team is it?
Oh, absolutely. It feels like both of the teams, both Will of Gaming and Intrepid Fox, they have the sort of same playstyle, that explosiveness that comes from the mid and the top. But Intrepid Fox has a top laner, Delito, who he's not your average flashy player. He's kind of like the support that you never really recognize or see on the map. He will be there. He'll do what he has to do, and he will take the dirty jobs from the team, let's say, while the rest of the map is cleaning up house.
I think Raccoon is one of the two teams, and Dinah, I don't know if you know this, is one of the two teams that went 3-0 yesterday. Will they be able to go 3-0 again today?
Well, as Woong already touched on a little bit, their games were actually very close. Definitely the game against Electronic Generation, which I also got the pleasure to cast. So it could happen. It's not unlikely. But I'm looking at the other teams trying to upset Raccoon, making sure they take at least one game of it so that they can actually maybe go to tiebreakers to end out that group and see who gets out.
Yeah, moving on to Group C, looking at what happened over there. It is the group where the Benelux team Diffuse Kids is playing in, but also, Trouble, it is the group where Mad Lions, well, got pretty mad for losing versus Kenty.
Well, you guys, I have a couple of tickets. I lost where they were. Okay, fine. No tickets. Everyone can get aboard the Kenty train. They have done the unthinkable. 0 wins so far for the Baltic region in any EU Masters. And Kenty are coming in not just with 2 wins. They beat Mad Lions in their own game. Hat-tricks yesterday. Onto that, LeBlanc was doing things that are unthinkable completely. And Kenty, with a great blitzcrank play right there, were able to shut it all down. 50 minutes back and forth. You were sitting at the edge of your seat. Didn't know who was going to win. Great stuff coming in from Kenty. Last backdoor. Cherry on top.
I will be seeing that game today again, and I think that's going to be a very interesting one. Before we talk too much about it, I want to have a little bit of a chat about Mad Lions, because this team, I mean, it is a sister team, because they have a team in the LEC, which is doing very well in the playoffs. But now this team coming into European Masters, it feels really, really shaky, Woong.
Yeah, they were supposed to top that group like with ease. But the game loss against Kenty actually made it a bit of a different group. Everyone now has a chance to go out. It's going to be a difficult one for doing esports, of course. But Mad Lions do have like weaknesses that get exploited into this group. And Kenty used it with the Blitzcrank, a bit more of an explosive game. But it's quite obvious that Matt wants to play around one player.
Yeah, something we see, and it's good that you say playing around one player, Trouble, is they play a lot around hat-tricks. On the other side, for example, the game versus Diffuse Kids, it wasn't really a clean win for Mad Lions. And then mostly had to do with Alois as well, I feel like.
Oh my god, everyone's like, my god, Chapapi on that Azir in the mid lane, he's so strong, he's so good. Yes, he is, but Alois, he's like, bring me 3-man dives, bring me 4-man, bring me your entire team. I'm just going to absorb the dive, absorb the gank, be even in CS with my opponent top laner, and even ahead in CS, ahead in experience, and I'm gonna take all of that pressure generated within and come back as a very strong top lane beast. And I feel like Alois is the type of player that a lot of top laners should take as the role model, because sure, he's put onto the weak side, but boy does he come up strong.
Yeah, Mad Lions playing a lot around hat-tricks, so that has to do with the fact that he pushes in that side waves a lot. And we were watching that game yesterday, Dino, Kenty versus Mad Lions. The way the side waves were set up by Mad Lions, that was actually out of this world.
Yeah, the thing with Mad Lions is it's pretty weird how they seem to fall behind a little bit in the mid game, because they have their basic macros under control. Their side waves are always pushing in. They know what objectives to go for and when to do it. But it seems to me that aside from the 2v2 mid, their synergy is sometimes kind of a little bit off. Werlip seems a little bit too far forward sometimes. The bot lane can get a little bit too spicy, and they need to shore up those weaknesses. But I'm looking at Mad Lions to come back with a vengeance today and actually try to go for that trio sweep.
Yeah, we have to see if that will be happening in Group C today. Moving on to Group D, and Trouble, this is your baby. These teams that are in here, those are the teams you know the most about.
Oh man, Esports and Will of Gaming. Will of Gaming actually have not surprised me, by meaning that yes, they are doing great. I was expecting them to actually go 3-0 with the way I saw them playing yesterday. They have shown a really great face. Paris in the mid lane is a stellar player, and they are playing around him a lot. And Esports, well, that's not necessarily the Pixels that won 3-1 versus Kenty, but I really hope to see them do the Fnatic reverse sweep and 3-0.
Yeah, but still, this We Love Gaming cost a bit of a setup. They won versus Kick. I mean, this kind of feels like Kenty versus Mad Lions, to be fair.
It
Although
does.
I must say, Paris is a pretty good mid laner. If he gets a few kills in on the Cassiopeia, he can prove that he's a very big force to reckon with. But We Love Gaming winning from Kick New Surf, winning from Sector 1, Sector 1 winning from We Love Gaming.
And everyone beating on Esports. Come on, man.
Yeah, they get taken out of that. But to be fair, this group still feels very open, or do you expect something else here, Wong?
No, I think every team can take first place. We'll have to see how they perform today. And it's the last day, of course, of EMAS for some of these teams. So be sure to throw everything you have and just use new tactics. Use those things you've been sparing up till this point. And now is actually the time to use them. And especially in Group D, where everyone can take first spot, I think that's the group to watch now.
Yeah, we are a few minutes away from that first pick in man. It's going to be Sector 1. Taken on We Love Gaming. I just heard my producer saying, oh, well, maybe it's not going to be that fast. We have some client-side issues that we're trying to fix. But I think there's a lot to say about Sector 1 versus We Love Gaming. And I think most of that is happening in the bot lane because We Love Gaming, well, pretty explosive in the bot lane, as I feel like. At least that's the thing I picked up here from you, Trouble.
Well, usually Bonito Hungry Panda do want to win during the lane phase. And Hungry Panda does like playing the Nautiluses, the Threshes, the Leonas, the Broms, something that he can hard engage with. Well, not so much on the Brom, but the rest. And it just hasn't felt like it's working as effectively. It felt like they've swapped their plan, left Bonito down on his own devices. You know, Hungry Panda is roaming around the map. Sometimes it doesn't work that well because I want to fall back to what you said at the start. It's one thing winning your home region and another thing going against all of these moguls in the European scene who play differently. So sure, like we said about Kenty Esports, sure, you're the top 2 in the Baltics, very small region. We love Gaming Intrepid Fox, also top 2 in the Greek league, also a very small region. But what can you do against teams who have more than one playstyle up their sleeve?
Yeah, things that we really saw in the draft for We Love Gaming is that we really like to draft comfort. On the other side, though, on Sector 1 in the bot lane, we see Practice and Savior, and they have been actually pretty known to be pretty much of a double-edged sword, a bot lane that can carry your game, but also can carry the other team's game.
Yes, going into your Masters, I thought maybe they will just go back a bit and play a bit more passive in lane, but they haven't changed at all, playing aggressive, playing up to the enemy turret and showing that they can dominate a lane, because that's where they get their huge advantage. And when they get this advantage in this lane, they will just try to force it all over the map. They will rotate their dual lane and play around Practice, who's actually a very high mechanical skill AD carry here. And I think our eyes are on Practice here and see how well he does and how well he does against this We Love Gaming roster.
Still, I must say, looking at that last game yesterday, Sector 1 versus Kick in their group matches, Dino, Debo has been praised for his early game in the Belgian league, in the Belgian ERL, but then that last game, it looked nothing like a Sector 1 game.
Yeah, what can you say? Polish junglers are just too strong. I mean, Debo is a vital part in Sector 1's success, and once he gets put on the back foot, it's really hard for him to control his aggressive laners. You have Knight that's always limit testing against his mid laner. You have Phoenix in the top lane that sometimes maybe disrespects a little bit the matchup, and then you have that bot lane that's just always almost under the enemy turret trying to kill them. So once Debo falls behind, it gets a bit rough, and once you're against that Polish team, apparently that's a really hard matchup for Debo. So I want to see Debo show up his game there a little bit and see if he comes back stronger today.
Yeah, because that early game, that is the thing though, Trouble, and that's something we've talked about. That's something we've seen Sector 1 do versus We Love Gaming. They have this beautiful early game, but then after 12, 13 minutes, they just look at each other and like, yeah, we have an AK lead. What do we do now?
And we talked a little bit about this before we went live, and it's, I think, what differentiates a good team from a great team. A great team is going to take any part that they have in lead, even if it's 1K, and they're going to translate it into macro play, great rotations, objective control, wards, vision, everything. They're going to try to take that 1K, translate it into either items or vision, and then try to choke the enemy team in whatever way possible. Whilst a lot of teams we've seen, at least in the planes of European Masters, they get kind of lost. They're like, okay, we have 6k lead, but we still do scale tremendously much in the late game. So we just wait maybe to hit the third item, fourth item power spike. And this is where you're like, yeah, but while you're trying to translate that lead, there's a lot of ways that the other team can actually come back and punish you because you're not pushing them hard enough.
Is We Love Gaming the team that is able to punish? I mean, the answer is obviously no, since Sector 1 won that game yesterday. But seeing Sector 1 having a 7-1 Aphelios, a 3-0 Ziggs, not really doing anything, it does worry me a bit. And I wonder, though, if they fix those problems today, because Sector 1 does feel like a bit like a favorite in that group together with Kick. But are they able to take that first seed, Wong?
They should be able to, because we've seen in the Belgian League and in the Belgian League playoffs that Sector 1, once they have lead, they will push it and they will end the game before 20 minutes. But they weren't able to do that here in the EM Masters planes yet, especially not against We Love Gaming, because they actually managed to stall the game for a good 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Sector 1 dropped tempo, and then We Love Gaming was like, okay, then we'll go back and forth. And they weren't able to push the game early enough, so the game dragged out.
Yeah, we covered all the lanes now, but we didn't cover the island that is top lane. And you said, Trouble, Icebreaker is a player you need to watch out for.
Oh yeah, he's gonna play aggressive. He's gonna play in your face. He's gonna actually taunt you to dive him, and then he's gonna kill someone. He's gonna pull a TP in from his mid laner. So we saw him getting dived 1v2 in the top lane, and then Paris pulled the trigger straight away, while Icebreaker was already dispatching of one person instantly.
I need to tell you, though, we are experiencing some issues, and that will mean that I just noticed that game 1 will be postponed until 7 p.m., meaning that the first game will be played in an hour. I do not know what that means for us as a desk. I've heard that Riot is working on it, and that is all I can say about it. Yeah, I'm a bit sorry about that, but there's actually nothing we can do about it. But on the other side, you can watch this show all over again in just half an hour. I mean, what do you want? This was our rehearsal. No, we'll be back in a bit. We'll be heading into a break, but we'll be back in an hour. That is when the first game will start between Sector 1 and We Love Gaming. Yeah, Wong, Dino, and Trouble, thank you for the trouble, and see you in a bit. Hello, is this thing on? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the desk here at the second day of the playing stage for the European Masters after some technical difficulties, which we are still trying to fix, or I would say but we're just sitting here talking about the game. It's the engineers from Riot actually trying to fix it, and we hope we can get our second day of the playing stage on its way. With me on the desk is Wong, Dino, and of course, Trouble. Yeah, we're just going to do a brief recap of what we already said, and I want to talk about the groups, though. And in particularly, I want to talk a bit more about Mad Lions because we touched upon this team. This team is highly anticipated to be getting out of this playing stage. They are the second seed from the SLO, from the Superliga Orange. But still, they are really, really shaky, Trouble.
They are shaky, and I think mainly it's the problem that they've put all their eggs in Hatrix's basket. Sure, this guy's an absolute maniac when he gets his hands onto an assassin. We've seen him on the Echo, we've seen him on the LeBlanc. He's an exceptional player, great. But the rest of the map needs to contribute somehow. And I'm not meaning that they're not contributing in the victory. It feels like they're running out of strategies. Like, sure, if that LeBlanc pops off, we can get something going. But we saw yesterday against Kenty, it dragged over to a 50-minute game where the LeBlanc, whatever she was trying to do, whether it was assassinating someone or pushing down a side lane, it just stopped working. And then the plan kind of fell flat.
Yeah, still we talk a lot about hat-tricks, but I do feel like we're doing a bit short on Toldo, the jungler for Mad Lions Madrid. Wonga's first game versus the Fuse Kids, he was a key part in that win as well.
Yeah, and he caught Hades out of position all the time. He warded his jungle. He knew where Hades was and counter-jungled him whenever he was able to, was following it on the map. And Hades didn't really get to play the game after 10 minutes into that game. And it really showed that Mad Lions really plays with their jungle as well, showing them some love, placing some wards into the enemy jungle. And just tracking where Hades was like really a big deal in the game because Hades didn't get to play the game after 10 minutes, secured the first 2 drakes, but he was never back into that game after that.
Dino, when we talk about strong teams, it kind of seems like it's mostly about that mid-jungle synergy. Why is that mid-jungle so important? Why is that mostly why teams win?
Well, it has a lot to do about the current meta and these neutral objectives being so vital to your game plan in general. And that mid 2v2 can actually, mid jungle 2v2 can actually open up the map really big for your team, making sure that that mid laner is unlocked to roam around the lanes to actually get ganks off somewhere else and secure those neutral objectives in the river.
Yeah, still, it seems like the plan for Mad Lions is to get hat-tricks on its way. But what Kenty did in the game yesterday versus Mad Lions that they eventually won is it looked like they split up the map, Trouble.
They split up the map, and they also had a Blitzcrank with them, which I feel like it's the first Blitzcrank we've seen, at least in the EU Masters planes. It's the first Blitzcrank I've seen from Spieler auf Deutsch as well. I didn't Baltics at all, and it seemed to work. He was getting great hooks, good picks. A lot of the times the hooks didn't result in kills because flashes had come back up. It was a 50-minute game and the teams were absolutely refusing to fight unless they had all of their summoners up, all of the cooldowns up. We talked about Mad Lions' side lanes that were always pushed, so it felt like they were one step ahead of Kenty, yet they just couldn't execute to perfection.
Do we need to watch out for these underdogs? Like the fact that they do these kind of weird things. I mean, looking also like We Love Gaming, we have to be fair. They are pretty much the underdog. Like their compositions, their drafts, like we get these question marks, but still it makes sense. Put on the comfort and do things these high level teams coming from those premier regions, from Spain, from France, and you name it. Is that what teams need to do?
Well, especially Kenty did something like that. They used an early game swap. They swapped their bot lane into the top lane to punish Aloys in the early game, get him behind. But like that wasn't enough. Aloys is just so really good on that top lane as well. He came back into that game. He was behind like 30, 40 CS, 3 deaths down. And then 20 minutes later, he was 20 CS ahead. So you can't just do that without a proper game plan. But Kenty, they showed that they actually want to do something in the early game. And that is what more teams should do if they want to look to get out of these groups. Because groups are wide open, but you have to take that opportunity to get that first or second seed to get out, to prove yourself. And some creative strategies, we've seen it in the Belgian league, can actually get you ahead.
Yeah, because those groups, they are, well, it looks like they are pretty much played out. Still, there are some groups that are pretty close to each other. And we're mainly looking at second seed for Group A, Dino. But also Group D seems to be very close to each other.
Yeah, those two groups are going to look at each other and trying to take as much games of the competitors as possible. For Group A, we have Gamers Legion pretty comfortable at top. I don't see them dropping a game anytime soon. But then for the second spot, Vipers Inc. is kind of disappointing at the moment. But Asus and Esuba actually have something going, and I don't think that we have a clear favorite there yet. And if you go down to Group V, you actually have three teams tied for first place. They all took a game of each other, so it's really up in the air who gets out in the first seed. And that's kind of important because once you're first seed, you get to face off against the second seed, and that just makes your chances to get into that main stage way bigger.
Yeah, for people who missed it, we are playing a double round robin best of one with the first matches were played yesterday, and now they are facing off each other again. At least let's hope that's going to happen today, as we are experiencing some technical difficulties on the client side of the game. So that makes it a bit hard. Very sorry about that, but there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. But hey, if you have a Valorant key, you know what to do. Because is anyone here a bit hyped about Valorant? Let's be fair. I mean, everyone's talking about this game, Trouble.
Yeah, I am very hyped about Valorant. Coming from a CSGO background, actually, I want to play this sort of concoction between, Overwatch and CSGO, and I feel like it's gonna be the perfect in between. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Don't have a key yet. Pepe hands, but
I mean,
I'll wait.
I do. I have a key. You've heard it here first. Are you any hyped about it? Are you hyped about?
Yeah, I really want to play it, but I don't have a key. So maybe someone could drop me a key, my DMs, or something like that. No, I haven't gotten any keys. I am hyped to play though.
Yeah, I think everyone's hyped about this game because everyone's talking about it. For now, we are still waiting on what's going to happen for the second day of the EU Masters play-in stage. We do not necessarily know what's going to happen, so bear with us until we find out what's going to happen. I know the pressure of these teams in the European Masters, like what we've been saying all these days, all this time, is like these are your tomorrow's LEC stars. I mean, we've seen it happen. We've seen teams winning up European Masters and players ending up on LEC rosters. Like the pressure these players have is immense. But still, do players really need to focus on playing an LEC or just try to focus on getting that good performance in EU Masters, trying to stand out there and see if they get higher level? Let's say, for example, like players for Kenty and let's name a Nemki. Like he stands out in that team. Like seeing him go to a better region, is that what players should aim for?
I think the players are all looking, of course, once you think about going pro, you're looking towards that higher echelon, you're looking towards LEC, and all the players in LEC are also very outspoken about this, that they're all looking to get to Worlds. So it's natural for a player to want to go there, but there are at the moment steps you have to take. It's not like it used to be where you could just put together a challenger team and maybe compete for a spot. And European Masters is a very good way for them to actually approach this. They can play themselves in the spotlight for those academy teams that we see popping up as well. But at the same time, if you put down a very good performance here, we saw it with Karzi and other players, you might actually get picked up into an LEC squad.
Yeah, we're still waiting. I think I've said this many times, but looking at the second play-in stage day, what are we expecting? What do we hope to see today, Trouble?
Well, I think
hope to see Kenty win everything.
No. I wasn't going to talk about Kenty. Come on. Like Wung said, I think a lot of the teams are gonna pull out the aces out of their sleeves. It's do or die right now. It's not like, okay, we have a couple more days, we're gonna play with more teams. No, if you fail today on your execution, on your gameplay, it's gonna be over for you. You're gonna have to wait until the summer split to try it again, and then you have to go through the ERL again, hopefully make it there, and then back again. So it's kind of like a long road, and it's do or die for all of them. So I'm expecting to see, the weird Blitzcranks, the Mal guys coming out as support, a lot of weird picks, like we've seen the Echo in the jungle making its appearance again, maybe TF in the mid lane, Shen we haven't seen at all, and I can't wait to see it because a lot of top laners are playing on the weak side. They're playing with the global cooldowns and trying to impact the map that way with the gangplanks. But Shen is something that I've had in my mind for a long time. Haven't seen it pop out yet, but I think it's going to be very useful.
When you have some contact with some of the players actually playing in the play-in stage now, do you have any idea how they are experiencing the tournament now? I mean, as Trouble already said, it is today, it's do or die because it could be over. You need to wait for summer split.
Yeah, a lot of players actually set own expectations, how they perform for themselves. If they can, like players like Alois and Papa are returning to the EU Masters, they have expectations from last time they were here, and they have to go over those expectations. They have to show that they can, now they've learned more and they can show more. And I think the Fuse Kids as a team is probably trying to show more than they did before, because now they're in the playing stage, they can face more teams, and it's a bit easier than going into the groups immediately. So for the Fuse Kids, it's actually defending the honor of the Benelux as well. But you have Sector 1 actually trying to prove themselves because they've never been in the EM Masters, and especially for a player like Knight, who's been in the scene for ages in the Benelux, being a most dominant mid laner here we've ever had, and playing with the likes of Bripo, seeing Bripo go internationally, but he's staying in the Benelux. That's like his opportunity now to show that he belongs at the international stage, that he can actually prove himself against better mid laners.
Dino, you have been quite of the oracle when it comes to the Benelux drafting. What do you expect? What teams are going to make it out of the playing stage?
Well, my heart says Sector 1 and Diffuse Kids can actually make it out. I don't want to toot their horn too much because
let's do it with Group A. That is
Group A.
Gamer Legion. I don't know if production is listening with us and if we can pull up Group A for a bit. Thank you very much for
Ooh, we're getting predictions in. Let's go.
Yeah, okay, so Group A is definitely going to be Gamer Legion first seed. They should, as long as they just keep playing their game and keep playing how they do, they should get out. And I'm also looking at the other seeds from this region to be very top contenders for the actual tournament itself. And then in second seed, that's a very tough call you're putting me on because Asus hasn't looked that great. But then again, they have a new roster. Keks is a very good top laner. I'm going to give it to Asus, actually. I think Keks might actually step it up today and drag out that second spot from Isuba, although Isuba is looking like a very tough contender.
Trouble, how do you feel about that? Asus going...
I'm going to second his opinion and what he said. I think it's going to be Gamer Legion and Asus Rogue Elite. I do believe in them. They've showed very great potential. They have reached top 4. They can do it again.
Well, yeah, you as well. I mean, you're sitting here anyway, so...
Might as well.
Do you feel like that as well? Or are you going to say something totally different just to shake everything up?
I'm going to surprise you. Gamer Legion is, of course, going to top this group, but I think Isuba is actually like the more favored to win this because Asus, yeah, they have a new roster. They still have to play with each other. They haven't played that much, I think, so I'm giving it to Isuba here. I'm hoping they can get out because I just like the name Isuba.
Yeah, chat, if you're still here, I mean, what would the stream be without their Twitch chat? What do you think is who's going to make it out? I mean, Gamer Legion, I think we can be, yeah, everything is on the same boat here. Gamer Legion is going to take that group. Is Zuma making it out? Aces RG? Or maybe the Vipers will be doing a surprise attack with their fangs out right into the arms of the other teams. Group B, though, Dino, I wonder what you think about that.
Group B is a very
that's a really tough one.
Yeah, because I think Raccoon is 3-0 and they deserve it, and I love the way they play and attack the map. But they had some really close ones, and I'm actually expecting them to maybe drop a game today. I really hope they don't, and they keep this momentum going. So it's really a tough call because they don't really have a clear favorite. I think Intrepid Fox, they just have this mid jungle duo that is so strong that I'm expecting to pop off today. So I think they might actually get out of groups, probably even in first seed. That's a really tough call, but I think Intrepid Fox maybe first seed and then Raccoon second seed.
That mid jungle duo, Trouble, you know a lot about this team. That mid jungle duo, what kind of synergy is in between them? Like, what do they mean to the rest of their team?
I think Dino touched a little bit on that as well, but I feel like we've been talking so much about the early game mid prior. It's all about the mid prior. We've even gotten into the very nitty gritty, which is which one of the two mid laners can kill the melee minions first is the one that's going to get prior first. And this is why we talk a lot about the Tristanas, the Zoes, because they kill the melee minions so quickly and they can't get prio. Prio in the mid lane means freedom for the jungler. They can move wherever they want in the map, top river, bot river, enemy jungle, because they do have the backup of the mid laner with them. Again, I'm going to second Dino here and say that I do believe in Intrepid Fox grabbing the first place. And of course, because Raccoon do already have a little bit of a better footing with the 3-0, they're going to grab the second seed.
I do need to tell the stream something because unexpectedly we have some tragic information. I mean, it's tragic for all of us. I'm gonna ask the production for confirmation if we can put it out there. It is public now. It is of great pain in my heart to say that all matches are being postponed until tomorrow, meaning that the stream will conclude. The reasons for that being the stability and connectivity issues on the tournament realm and on the live clients. Unfortunately, this is something that cannot be fixed within an hour. And due to the fact that a lot of games need to be played and a lot of things are on the line, we are, it's actually a decision that is not made by us, but something made from higher up. I do need to say that the games will be postponed tomorrow and we'll be back then. Yeah, pretty sad, but it gives a bit of extra time to these teams to adapt themselves, to do a bit more of studying. I mean, let's bend it a bit more into the positive way here, Wong. These teams get a bit more extra time to like fine tune their drafts.
Well, especially looking at Mad Lions, they can actually take a sign of relief here. They can prepare better because they weren't showing too much their dominance in the first set of games. So hoping they can come back stronger. But especially I'm looking at one player, Phoenix, can now untilt from his 10 death streak.
Practices Wukong.
And practices Wukong a bit, maybe go into a custom game if that's possible, of course.
Yeah.
And try
Beginner bots?
Beginner bots.
Oh, don't go there, Trouble. Don't go there. Don't go taking out the beginner bots here. I do want to thank you guys here for being on the desk with me, Dino, Wong, and Trouble. I want to thank you for your patience and hanging in here while we were trying to fix the issues, but unfortunately weren't able to. I am going to sign off here, and we'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central European summertime. That'll be 5 p.m. UK time. So make sure to follow the channel here on GameLux LOL, and of course the GameLux channel where we have our secondary stream. For now, it is a goodbye, but hopefully till tomorrow, well, we will find out who will be going into the knockout stage of the European Masters play-ins.